Welcome to the Innovation Conversation, a podcast about innovators, both in business and real life. Hosted by myself, Ricardo Pascual, and Harry McDonough. Today's episode is sponsored by Hyperskill. Hyperskill is a learning and training platform that enables people from all over the world to learn new tech skills. If you're looking to learn new tech skills, this is a platform to choose. You can find out more about them on hyperskill.org. Today we are talking with Thali Lotus from CAYA Audio, an artist, a musician, a speaker, and creator of what we think is the next big thing in microphones.
Thank you so much for coming to the Innovation Conversation. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Me and Harry are both quite excited to hear more about CAYA Audio, especially because our first event, the microphones didn't work. So I think you'd be the right person to start this out.
Yes, I was there and experienced it.
Yeah. Were you thinking, oh my God, this is horrible, these guys don't know what they're doing? And
I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking I should have just plugged my mic in and
Definitely,
yeah, it would have been part of a great pitch. So yeah.
But tell us about CAYA Audio. What do you guys do?
So we create sustainable, versatile, innovative microphones using MEMS technology. Our debut product is a MEMS microphone. However, going forward, we plan on launching a range of devices which include microphones, not just which are for performance and for home recording, but floor microphones, as well as also venturing into the hearing impairment sector, so creating really versatile hearing aids and supportive devices in that sector too. So,
yes. So how do you come up with the idea? Because I know you're a DJ as well, right? I had a little bit of background research and it's quite cool. So how did you come up with this idea?
So my background is actually in sound system. I grew up in a sound system household. So for anyone that's not familiar with sound system, just think Notting Hill Carnival. Yeah. So that's my background. That's where I come from. Launched my own sound system in 2016, engineered by myself and designed by craftsmen in that area. So I have bespoke equipment and toured really successfully up until like 2019, 2020. Then the pandemic, as we know, struck and there were no live venues, so no opportunity to really do what I do. And yeah, going forward, that's what I always saw myself doing. I was working, but also doing that as my kind of, my creative outlet. But I always wanted to do that full on, which I am doing now. So at that point, there were no live venues, and I thought, should this happen again? I don't want to be in this situation. And that's when I really thought I need to create a product whereby, you know, it bypasses the fact that there has to be a venue as such, and also it was about the opportunity because of the pandemic, but also because of my legacy. I didn't want it to start and end the sound system. I wanted it to be something which could be globally available and really encourage the next generation of creatives to design and go into manufacturing. So yeah, that's how it all came about.
It's a very impressive journey on
that
side.
It is,
yeah.
So how did you start, I guess, come up with the idea? Because it's a very innovative technology. I know you've used quite a few keywords. MEMS is a big one. And for our audience out there, what is MEMS?
So MEMS stands for Micro Electromechanical System. And basically, not to bore you with the audio jargon, it's basically a very small circuit board which is programmed with all of the information that you would generally just find via what electromagnetism does by itself and through other operation types. It uses it via a very small device which is built into the microphone. So it's really we didn't create the MEMS technology. It's available and we use it in our devices, but it's not been really supported in the audio world when it comes to microphones. And so whilst our mic is also available using traditional methods, we wanted to accompany that with something innovative, and that's why we decided to use the MEMS.
Interesting. We were talking before we started recording, and you mentioned you have already, 3,000 pre-orders?
Yes. Which
is absolutely crazy. That is such a good product market fit. So how are you finding, people finding your company? Is it coming naturally? A lot of people say, look, this is exactly what we need.
So over the past couple of years, so we successfully crowdfunded £10,000, which allowed us to get started with the first prototype and product. And as a result of that, we then use that in a, I suppose, creative research product with 10 creatives who tested the mic and used it in their, you know, creative way, so to speak. So their feedback, as well as the backdrop of CAYA audio, stems from CAYA sound system. So I already have quite a lot of traction from that. So there's been creative research projects that have been going on for the past 2 years, as well as we have something once a fortnight called CAYA Tribe Features, which is basically our way of staying in touch with our audience and amplifying the voices of the unheard. So we have creatives, be they musicians, DJs, singers, rappers, spoken word artists, and we feature them once a fortnight on our page. And that way, that's how we get to keep our that's I suppose.
Have they all tried the prototype, or?
The majority of our creatives have, yes, obviously, they have.
That is so cool, because you literally, they love the prototype so much, they went on the website and have done a pre-order, but we're talking about 3,000 people. That is really, really good traction for any startup just starting out, so it's brilliant. We're both very curious, you're raising, but you're not raising tons of money, you actually have a very modest figure in place.
Yes, I
so
do.
Tell us all about that.
So our raise is for 100,000, and that is based upon the fact that we already have our prototype and have revised it a few times. So we already have that in place. Really, the majority of what we need will be for hardware and for marketing. So it's not the kind of millions that, you know, a lot of, or not even millions, but it's not. It's quite modest.
It's funny because, you know, we talk with a lot of people, and it's always, some people ask for investment because they want to try out an idea, whereas you have actually done the other way around, the correct way, which is you went to market, saw what the market liked, the market gave you tons of feedback, you created a prototype, they've actually tried out the prototype so much they actually want to buy, and you have now 3,000 clients waiting to buy the protetype, right?
Yes.
So it's just a matter of fulfilling those orders. It's really a good position to be in.
Yeah, so it's definitely a very good position to be in. I think, you know, it's something whereby I think it's a lot of manufacturing obviously doesn't, I think it's definitely a good place to be, just because of what it is and what it represents, not just in terms of the audio world, but I think in terms of manufacturing, I think in terms of creation, I think in terms of design, I think in terms of underrepresented groups, I think in terms of being a woman engineer in electronics and music. I think it really does. For me, it's more than just a microphone. It speaks for me to a lot of, you know, different sectors that I, you know, am present in, which are very much underrepresented, and so it's more than just a microphone.
It's a very good piece to build that community, showcase yourself, and also kind of, as you said, say that there's more to it. But you mentioned, I'm guessing, around 7 really key words there. You know, women empowerment, women in tech. But the one that stood out there was the manufacturing side as well, because there aren't that many women in manufacturing, and it's a very, in general, underrepresented area from just a female perspective. Going into that in a little bit more detail, how did you actually design your system, or the actual microphone itself? How did you kind of go into the manufacturing space, which one is incredibly complicated to go by and very expensive in the UK, and, you know, where did you go? Who kind of helped you narrow it? And I know from our previous conversation, and a big shout out to Dean Williams from Goldsmiths, did they kind of help you in that in some regards, or is this something you just done through research?
Definitely shout out to Dean. He's an incredible man and has been supportive of CAYA Audio in the last few months, so massive shout out to him. But prior to that, a lot of it has been done, I would say, primarily by myself and primarily by the people that I have had as part of.
So mentors.
Mentors, absolutely, as well as people who are part of the team. So in terms of mechanical designer and in terms of an electronics engineer, who have experience in design and manufacturing, and so they kind of supported conversations here and abroad, and so yeah, that was a massive help. Still very much still very much a labyrinth of people and companies to really get around, but yeah, definitely a massive help.
So what was the first stage? Because did you go to a prototype company to actually design this, or was it just friends who were electronic engineers and manufacturers?
No, so how it all started is I said, I don't even know what happened. I think that the pandemic happened and I thought, yeah, I don't want this. I don't want to be in this position again. And I thought I need to therefore design something. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to design this microphone, and kind of put a very basic sketch together of what I wanted it to do. And yeah, kind of done some research on what it could do and what was viable. So that was really based upon my experience in engineering and my electronics experience. And then I thought, okay, I know a certain amount, and kind of where I've always had, a side to me which is always upskilling and always learning, done some Udemy courses as well. And then thereafter set about finding individuals who could then, take what I had learnt and thought to the next level. And that's when I really started searching for a mechanical designer and electronics engineer, and I found those via Upwork.
Okay.
I found my electronics engineer via Upwork, and then he then put me in touch with a mechanical designer, and that's how we all came together. So yeah, that's really how it started.
Very international reach on that side. And if you don't mind us asking, how many iterations of your design did you have until you kind of got to where you want to be?
So we're now on number 3/4. Yep.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I just think, the whole story and how it got started and your background, in music, and then creating a product that you already have clients for, it's absolutely brilliant. And it's so hard to find that type of traction with most startups, because they always say we have this idea and we're going to go to market, and then the market will tell us what they want. But you're actually doing it the other way around. You've spoken with the market before, right?
Yes, absolutely. Spoken to the market, and I think for me, with CAYA, or my vision for CAYA Audio, I think when I first started out, back in 2020, 2021, it was very much, this is going to happen overnight, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to be international, and Oprah's going to be using my mic, and GMTV is going to be. I just had all of these, miraculous thoughts which haven't to date happened. However,
yet.
However, I've actually now become very much more aligned with a very organic and slow growth. Like for me, I want people to buy the X3E, which is the microphone, because of, yes, it's technology, but ethically because of what it stands for too. I really do want it to meet ethical consumers' needs in terms of how it's created, what materials it uses, who's designed it, and so for me, a really slow organic growth is what I want, rather than a speedy kind of overnight success that not necessarily would crash and burn, but really doesn't have the essence of, I think, the whole of how I see CAYA Audio and its expansion. So yes.
Are you retaining feedback from all the individuals that have used it? Because you mentioned you've got the community, people kind of engaging with it. Have they given you any good positive feedback, any negative? Have you taken it?
Yeah, and I think that's why we are now on, 3/4 revision of the microphone. I think that, based on their feedback and based upon what we, it's a constantly changing space. And I think what's also important to mention when it comes to audio is that it's very much, a lot of the time, it's tech and audio, whereas I think it's very much just as important, if not more, the audio side of things, like you would know from, the first.
Audio is very important.
Audio is very, very important, but I think for a long, long time, it's been treated as that kind of distant second cousin in the background who you put on the end table at the wedding kind of thing. But it's so, so important, and I think that what we are trying to do with CAYA Audio is really amplify that in terms of the importance, you know, because I always say things like, had it not been for the microphone and mic technology, we would have never heard Martin Luther King's speech. It would have been, you know, reduced to a room and those people in that room. However, because of the amplification of the microphone and mic technology, it's just in our voice notes, it's in our phones, it's in everything, it's in our Alexa, it's in everything. So I think, yes, tech is very important, and I think audio just as much. So I think that's really what I want to do through CAYA and amplify that. Yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, right now I don't think there's a single day we do not use our microphones for one thing or the other, right? And you know, it might be on our phones, might be in Alexa, or what's the name of the Google thing, or you know, the Apple one, but Siri, okay, I hate Siri. Also Alexa, but we use microphones all the time, and having a good quality microphone does make a good difference. I mean, even for our podcast, we've been blessed with these Rode ones. But I think that one of the reasons we're able to do the podcast in the way we do it is because the microphones are good quality. Because if we were to buy something off Amazon, then it's always hit or miss, right? We don't know if they're good or not. So I can definitely see a immense value you bring to the table for that.
So what's the next steps for you? Let's say in a year's time, you've launched, you've got your product out there, you've just raised £100,000. Where do you see yourself going?
Oh, so yes, this is really exciting. So this time, so we're now in 24 October, having launched the CAYA X3E, which is our debut product, I would anticipate that what we'll be doing is using all of the feedback that we've received from the mic and ongoing research and innovation in terms of our next product, which will be a lapel styled microphone, and using that feedback to create that. We'll have launched the debut microphone and really research and innovation into the next product, as well as expanding our audience. I think I really see, I've never done a podcast, and I haven't done a podcast purely because I want to do a podcast with my mic. Yes. So a podcast, also, and very much an integration between the world that I come from and the world that I wouldn't say aspire to be part of, but I think I want to bring together with my background. So when I say that, what I mean is I'm from a sound system background, which is very cultured and very underrepresented groups, in comparison to the audio world, which is very shopfront, global platform, and a lot more money, you know. So I really see what I would like to be doing is really merging the two together, and we're working on something that does just that, you know, because I think that there's a lot of innovation in the underrepresentation that doesn't have the money, that doesn't have the support, and so really bringing those two worlds together is what
that's what I think it's the most interesting about your company, is that you've hit every single thing that most investors will look at and say, you know what, this is a really good company to invest in.
Thank you.
No, because this is hard. Getting this much traction, you have tons of followers on social media. You're literally building a microphone based on the feedback that artists have given you to what they want from a microphone, and most people never manage to do that or manage to get that far. What struggles have you had so far in going out to investors and saying, hey, look at me, I'm super relevant and I have a very solid company and idea?
What are the challenges? I think the challenges are, I consider myself a creative, and I'm a creative who has very much had to live a very logical life because of, you know, being able to fund, you know, just being able to get ahead. You know, I have a daughter also, and so I've had to live my life very logically despite being a creative. And I think, therefore, when it comes to that very, I wouldn't say studious side, because I've, you know, been to university, I have a degree, I have a master's, really refining all of that creativity into an application, for example. So that's a massive challenge. Even though there are things widely available, I think that, you know, having the right terminology, having the right support, that's been a massive issue in terms of CAYA being able to secure funding. So yeah, I'd say grant and application writing. I would also say that one of the other issues that I'd say definitely grant, and I think it's just support in that area. Like I feel like there's not a lot of black audio females in manufacturing. There's not a lot of support. It's a very male dominated industry, the audio world. So there hasn't been I've had 3 mentors, but none of them are directly from that space, and so I'm really on my own, in terms of, yes, you can support and assist, but there's only so much that you can really do before it's like, I can't answer that question, or I can't really navigate you. So a lot of that has been through my own networking, and I think it's that networking has resulted in there being really good connections made. But I'd say one of the other things is time. And being a solopreneur almost, yes, I have people that are part of the team, but we all have lives outside of that in order to survive. So it's really time management and having enough time to do it all, getting back to emails and following up and continuing a conversation, not just getting what you want and that being it, because then there'll be a point, no doubt, in the future that you'd need to link back to that person. So it's very, very important to sustain relationships, because I think before the money for me is that relationship. Money is very important, but I think building really good relationships with key people in those spaces is vital to the longevity and the life of any company. So yeah,
makes sense.
It's a very detailed explanation. We're kind of flabbergasted on that side, because grants is a main thing, but in most cases it's for a lot of people, is that time management's a really big thing. Grants take a really, really long time, specifically when you go for a grant. It's about hitting that criteria, because sometimes, from what you described, hitting an ED&I angle, but also a woman in tech, woman in manufacturing, they're crying out for stuff like that. But it's also finding the ones that are out there, making sure you hit. There's usually 5 weeks you have to fill out that application, but you also mentioned you've done an Innovate UK grant as well, and usually it's going on the line of you need to find a university partner, you have to get people to back you, need to do all this stuff, and it becomes quite hard because you've got to make sure the universities have time for you, or whoever you're working with can actually fill out an application on time. And that's the hardest thing, because if you can say, hey, I've got 1 day, I can fill it out, you also have to work on other individual schedules as well, and that's where it becomes complicated.
Yes, and that's why I mentioned about maintaining a relationship being key, because you can have someone on paper and that's literally all that they are. And it's the same with an investor. You can have an investor and you've got to really specifically know what you want from them, because again, you could just have someone that gives you money, which is fine if that's what you want. However, if you're looking for an investor who actually is in the space and can give you, information that's really going to help you on that journey, then that's completely different again. So yeah, I think it's key to knowing. Obviously, yes, as you said, I recently applied for Innovate UK. I was unsuccessful because of a very, very schoolboy error, which again I think came down to just time. Like I'd spent so much time on the application, and then at the last hurdle when it came to the video and not making it on, I set it to private instead of unlisted, and then your application is immediately
for a tiny mistake like that, that is very harsh.
And you don't get any feedback based upon that, so you don't get you don't get the money as well as you don't get any feedback. So that's when I got the result on Monday. I was like, I don't know whether I should. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know, because it's not saying that your application's not good enough, but then it's like you still haven't got what you want. But I think it's just
I think it's with those, it's even though your business might not be completely relevant, as long as there's a tiny bit that's relevant to a particular challenge or criteria, you'll always be successful. Because again, at Connected Places Catapult, we run a lot of competitions, and insider knowledge. A lot of the SMEs that apply for us, a lot of them aren't really relevant. However, we often find it difficult to find individuals of certain criteria, i.e. outside of London, in these specific niches. So it becomes very hard for these companies to go out and find individuals that really want to apply. And often it comes down to the time of, if you don't apply, you don't know. But from what you've done with the first grant, you'll find that there'll be another grant that will come out soon, because it's a creative space. The UK is investing millions in creativity, new tech, trying to promote individuals and grow, because the UK wants to become this creative powerhouse, doesn't it? They want to take it away from China. And for a big instance, I go to the Philippines. Ricardo's probably fed up on that side, but a lot of film production is actually done.
I'm not. I want to go to the Philippines now, because
a lot of film production is done in the Philippines,
Yes.
like cartoons and other areas. And you know, you've outsourced it all. Now they want to bring it back. So there's a lot of potential there. And over the the next 10 years, that space is going to be huge. So you're going to have a lot more opportunities come out very quickly. And all I would say is practice the grants. Just submit them. After you've done 3 of them, all you're going to be doing is copy and pasting, because it's the same thing, and you'll be quick fire over and over. It's just that's the way it goes.
Yes.
Because Harry is a bit of an expert when it comes to grants.
Okay.
He loves his grants.
It's the fun. But again, you'll often find it's copy and paste. Once you've done the first one, it's the exact same questions or very similar questions. And then it's how do I answer those questions in such a way that it matches what they're looking for, which is what is their challenge, what is their criteria, have I actually met all of that?
Yeah, no, I think I have definitely got to that point. Obviously, it would have been nice to get the feedback, but I personally feel that the application that I submitted was at that bar.
Yeah. You can get the feedback. It's just the issue you'll find with it is they've probably got 500 applications and probably 200 have asked for feedback, and they all have to go out, and then it's not them actually giving you the feedback. It's whoever's funding it, whoever's sponsoring these competitions is getting them to feedback into the company, who will then give out to you.
Yes.
So it's quite a lengthy process.
But I imagine, like you said, it is quite hard to manage everything all at the same time, right? Because
absolutely,
you still need to get a way of funding yourself. You still need to manage your family. You're trying to launch the business all at the same time. And it's a lot of things to juggle at the same time. We know how complicated it is with the podcast. The number of times we have not arguments, but little, misalignment situations where we say, okay, we need to do the videos here, we need to do the audio there. And it's complicated, right? It's always a jungling game. And you never know exactly, am I going to manage to, keep all the plates spinning at the same time or not? And it's hard, yeah. It
is absolutely. Like, I spoke with Dean today. We had a catch up, and I said, what do you think I should do next? And he said, I think you should take 2 weeks off. Which is, again, something that you just don't, feature into a life of being an entrepreneur. Yeah. It's all kind of systems go all the time.
So what is that? Because when you do your own business, you often throw yourself into it full time, especially having a family, kids, other commitments as well.
Yes.
Do you find that this is now taking up a huge chunk of your time, and it's something you focus on consistently? Even when you go to sleep, it's thinking about how can I do this? Like, do you switch off?
I don't think I switch off. And it's definitely not the best way. But what I think I'm doing more and more now is really funneling or filtering ways of still being, I wouldn't say positive, but still being proactive in what it is that I'm doing, because it's like I've got to the point where I need money to now progress. But what I've done as a result of that, of kind of not wanting to just be still, it's really about how do I feature CAYA Audio into the other day-to-day, my day-to-day life, without it just being about the mic and launch of the mic. So, more interactions and more interaction and more integration in terms of my music and DJ and things like that, doing that a lot more, and really being present in terms of what's happening in the audio space, rather than just the mic.
Yeah, but you've done the right thing there, because you've built a business and constructed an idea based around your lifestyle. And a lot of individuals, they'll often do a business that is, oh, I work in finance, but I want to do gardening. Or sometimes individuals do what you've done, or they do something completely
Or
different.
worse, they work in gardening and they want to do something for finance because they think that's how it works, right?
Yes.
And that does happen every once in a while.
But then you've got your clients right next to you.
Yes.
You've got prospects, clients, feedback, that community, and you're already in there. So it's not like a huge shift from what you're doing into something
No,
else.
absolutely, and especially with my sound system. So I haven't toured the sound system for like 2.5 years now. And so really, because that is where it all started, CAYA Audio started from CAYA Sound System. And so really integrating that as part of the, CAYA's journey is essential. So really, like working with industry leads like Pioneer or whoever it might be that allow for me to, do what I always, how it all started is a big part of going forward without, becoming really disheartened with, the investment hasn't come and, and it's taken longer and what have you, but really just being able to channel that into my creativity in other ways. Yes.
I want to throw something out there. Would you ever consider GoFundMe? Because you've got the community, you've got the base, you've got the connections, and that could be an alternative for you to offer, hey, once this mic is complete, I can actually give you a prototype for a slight discount.
I have had that suggested. So we did crowdfund for £10,000 in 2021, and that literally went like that because, it's £10,000. And so that really took care of our first, I'd say part of the first prototype and trademarking and also, building a website, etc. GoFundMe, the only reason I haven't done that is because there was, up until a point, it was like, I've already done crowdfunding and I don't want to seem like I'm still in need of, public funding, so to speak.
But you should, because there's tons of company who keep on going back and back to it like 1,000,000 times.
Okay.
Because you've done something, you've got the 10 grand, you've built the site, you've got your prototype, like, wow, my even if I gave £1, that's actually contributed. And I know it's 100k to us, it's a lot of money, but to investors it's not really a lot, is it?
Yeah.
So that 100k would be quite quick.
Especially with attraction, because you have clients willing to buy. And then it makes perfect business sense because you say, okay, I invest this much money, but then I know there's clients because I can see the client list and they all tried the prototype, they all love the idea, they're definitely going to buy.
Yeah.
So it kind of becomes, it's like a sure bet because, okay, you get the 100k, but at the same time, we know where it's going to be spent. It goes straight to the consumers and we know we're going to double that money, triple that money, whatever it might be the case.
Yeah,
so.
no, I think that's very valid and it's something that I definitely need to revisit. Yes. But I think I was mentioning earlier, I think a big part of, CAYA Audio is that ethical stance. I really do want for it to be a microphone that meets ethical needs. So, yeah.
And that'll be through that community building, fundraising, rather than a big individual coming over, here's a check.
Yeah.
How do you know if they're ethical or
Yes.
they do other stuff as well?
Yes. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Thank you for your time on that side, and it's been fantastic learning about CAYA Audio and your journey's, it's just beginning, but the way you described it, there's a lot of potential. And
I don't think there's, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any kind of other black female woman in manufacturing audio. So yeah, I think the future's definitely bright.
We'll go on LinkedIn and try and find something.
And just once we get over the hurdle of the investment and money, then I think CAYA Audio has a very bright future.
I think so as well, yeah. I hope so.
Yes.
And I cannot wait to try the microphone on our next event.
Yes.
Which I'm sure will be 1,000,000 times better than the megaphone we use. So I'm quite looking forward to that.
Yes. No, definitely.
Thali, thank you so much for coming here. If people want to reach out to you, especially investors, how can they do that?
So you can reach me on socials. On socials, CAYA Audio. You can get at me there. So it's just CAYA Audio on Instagram, as well as audio.by Thali Lotus, which is my name and personal page. But then also via email, and which is thali@comeasyouare.com. So yeah, I'd say Instagram, email, and the website, please do visit the website, which is www.kayaaudio.com, and you can see the mic and you can read our story and our journey, as well as the real foundation of KAYA Audio, which is about the sound system. So yeah, have a look and get in touch.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.